Testing.
Aha. All righty. Thank you so much, Galen. It's a delight to have capable people handling these things. So, good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos. My name is Felicia Orth, she, her. I'm a worship associate for our congregation. Whomever you are, whomever you love, whatever your image of the holy, and wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. If this is your first time with us, we'd love to get to know you. Please sign our guest sign-in book in the foyer. You can also sign up to receive our church announcement emails. Speak with our greeter, Mike McNaughton, there at the back, or Reverend Tina Dio for more information about our church. If you're watching this morning online, hello. We're glad you're with us virtually. Please sign our virtual guest book that's in the notes below the worship video. You can also sign the virtual prayer book if you have a joy or sorrow to share. Candles of community are over here. You're invited to light a candle and write a joy or sorrow in the book to be read aloud during our prayer time in the service. Please come up anytime before the prayer time or during our prayer time to do that. We have lots of worship options for young children. There's the activity table there. Kids can stay seated with their parents or caregivers. We have the library quiet room just back there. Our nursery is down the hall for kids between 0 and 3. I don't know how you're 0, but Sarah Hamoud would be happy to check in the younger kiddos. Kids can also leave after the time for all ages and go with Elizabeth Portillos, our Director of Lifespan Spiritual Enrichment Assistant and Teacher, to the World Blessing class located in Fellowship Hall. Parents, please do sign out your kiddos after the service has finished. We have lots of kids, youth, and adult programming throughout the week and on Sundays. Terra Louise is our Director of Lifespan Spiritual Enrichment. There she is in the cranberry top. Would be happy to talk with you more about all of this. Today, we are happy to welcome Stephen Ledoux, our guest speaker, who will be giving a talk on meeting commitments on dignified dying. Our minister, Reverend Tina Dio, is away this week visiting family and will be back next week. Announcements are next, and Terra is going to do that with us.
Good morning, beloveds, and happy Lunar New Year. I'm Terra Louise, Director of Lifespan Spiritual Enrichment. I use she, her pronouns, and we have a lot of fun announcements this week. So this morning, we'll be starting our World Blessings curriculum, as Felicia had mentioned. So kids are welcome to join us. After the time for all ages, we'll be going into the fellowship hall, and we'll be learning more about Lunar New Year and doing several activities. And please, as she said, please sign your kids out after the service. So, and everyone after the service is welcome to join us for fun shops. This week, we're beginning fun shops every Sunday. Everyone is welcome. Today, Britton and Aaron will be hosting a table to make paracord bracelets, and Elizabeth and I will be hosting a table to make valentines, and we'll also have a 1,000-piece mushroom puzzle, and people are welcome also to just hang out and have coffee. So anyone can host a fun shop. If you'd like to host one, please let me know. And after that, everyone is welcome to join us at the co-op for lunch this afternoon. And then this afternoon, the teen group will be meeting. And this Thursday, the littlest ones group will be meeting at 11 a.m. And we're starting our monthly Spanish conversation group on first Thursdays, starting this Thursday at 6:30 in the assembly room. This is for all levels of Spanish. If you're just beginning or if you're a native speaker, it's a time to get together and speak in Spanish. And then this Friday is dinner out with UUs at China Palace at 5:30, and then followed by a game night here at 6:30. So we hope you'll be able to join us for these. And if you're interested in helping the classrooms or planning other events, please let me know. So please, and you can follow these and other announcements in our weekly emails that come out on Thursdays. So thank you.
Thank you also, although I don't have a slide for it, please mark your calendars and save the date, March 8th, for an Irish dinner, an all-church dinner with an Irish theme. Please silence your cell phones at this time if you haven't done that already, and we'll begin the worship service together. This is the time when we can invite you to greet your neighbor by introducing yourself. If you'd rather just wave because it's cold and flu season, that's okay. But I will give you a few minutes and then ring this chime to bring us back together. All right, thank you very much. We gather in worship to find meaning and to live more deeply. Worship creates connections within, among, and beyond us, calling us to be our better selves, calling us to live with wisdom and compassion. Our church theme for February is inclusion. As we gather in worship this morning, we're going to begin with a chalice lighting, and Ari is going to be our lighter. Ari? Come up. Good. The chalice lighting words come from Lindsay Bates, Geneva, Illinois. To face the world's shadows. To face the world's shadows, a chalice of light. To face the world's coldness, a chalice of warmth. Thank you, Ari. To face the world's terrors, a chalice of courage. To face the world's turmoil, a chalice of peace. May its glow fill our spirits, our hearts, and our lives. So let's move to the opening hymn. This is hymn 298, Wake Now My Senses. Please stand in body or spirit, and let us listen to and sing the beautiful words that draw us outward and inward. you, Nylea. Let's remain standing for our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. Quest for truth is its sacrament. Service is its prayer. Dwell together in peace. Seek knowledge and freedom. Serve life in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each and with all. Please be seated. We'll hear now next The Time for All Ages. The title is The Next Place.
Hello? Okay. All right. So today I have a special guest with me who will be turning the pages. This is Miri. If anybody remembers Susanna, who worked here for a long time, this is her daughter, who's visiting from Canada, and she's our neighbor and one of our very dear friends. So she'll be changing the pages. Okay. This is called The Next Place. The next place that I go, we'll get there. The next place that I go will be as peaceful and familiar as a sleepy summer Sunday and a sweet, untroubled mind. And yet, it won't be anything like any place I've ever been, or seen, or even dreamed of in the place I leave behind. I won't know where I'm going, and I won't know where I've been as I tumble through the always and look back toward the when. I'll glide beyond the rainbows. I'll drift above the sky. I'll fly into the wonder without ever wondering why. I won't remember getting there. Somehow I'll just arrive. But I'll know that I belong there and will feel much more alive than I have ever felt before. I will be absolutely free of the things that I held onto, that were holding onto me. The next place that I go will be so quiet and so still that the whispered song of sweet belonging will rise up to fill the listening sky and joyful silence and unheard harmonies of music made by no one playing, like a hush upon the breeze. There will be no room for darkness in that place of living light where an ever-dawning morning pushes back the dying night. The very air will fill with brilliance as the brightly shining sun, and the moon and 500,000 stars are married into one. The next place that I go won't be really a place at all. There won't be any seasons, winter, summer, spring, or fall, nor a Monday, nor a Friday, nor December, nor July. And the seconds will be standing still while hours hurry by. I will not be a boy or girl, a woman or a man. I'll simply be just simply me, no worse or better than. My skin will not be dark or light. I won't be fat or tall. The body I once lived in won't be part of me at all. I will finally be perfect. I will be without a flaw. I will never make one more mistake or break the smallest law, and the me that was impatient or was angry or unkind will simply be a memory, the me I left behind. I will travel empty-handed. There is not a single thing I have collected in my life that I would want to bring except the love of those who loved me and the warmth of those who cared, the happiness and memories and the magic that we shared. Though I will know the joy of solitude, I'll never be alone. I'll be embraced by all the family and friends I've ever known. Although I might not see their faces, all our hearts will beat as one, and the circle of our spirits will shine brighter than the sun. I will cherish all the friendship I was fortunate to find, all the love and all the laughter, and the place I leave behind. All these good things will go with me. They will make my spirit glow, and that light will shine forever in the next place that I go. Thank you. And now the kids can come with us.
We'll turn to the offering now. This month's Share the Plate offering goes to our Romanian Unitarian Partner Church in Begnaud, Romania. It's in the Transylvania region of Romania. All cash and undesignated funds that are received go directly to that church. Some of us have had the pleasure back in 2019 visiting them there. Lovely, lovely people. Please feel free to use the QR code for the Givelify app on the screen, or we'll pass some baskets. May what you bring give you joy. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your generosity this morning. May these gifts help our partner church in Fenukut do their important work in their part of the world. Nope. Yes. We'll turn now to sharing joys and sorrows. During this time, you are invited to come up to our Candles of Community space, light a candle, write a joy or sorrow in the book if you'd like. We'll be singing hymn number 15. This is The Lone Wild Bird. As we light our candles today, please feel free to come up during the song and light a candle for anything that might be on your heart today. Thank you. So we have a few to speak out loud this morning. My heart is with the entire trans community in these dark times. May they know love and strength. Remembering my dear friend, Freddie, who passed away 13 years ago today from brain cancer. You are loved. I think this one is also from this morning. Love and peace to my sick father. So we all have joys and concerns on our hearts that are not expressed. The prayer is from W.E.B. Du Bois. The prayer of our souls is a petition for persistence, not one good deed or a single thought, but deed upon deed, thought on thought, until day calling into day makes a life worth living. Thank you all. Thank you. Our guest speaker is Stephen Ledoux.
We humans show some strong tendencies to help each other during end-of-life experiences. While not everyone agrees, we try to meet some meaningful obligations to each other regarding dignified dying as we each take a turn on the wheel of life. We have done so for millennia. In that time, many of our practices arose through a wide range of superstitions, and these have become well codified, mainly across the great variety of religions around the world. Sadly, with our practices coming mostly from well-intentioned guesswork across the centuries, many of the practices by which we try to help each other often make matters worse, not only for survivors, but for the dying. Are we doomed to continue this scenario forever? Have we tried everything? Can we improve our practices? Fortunately, we humans have also discovered much new knowledge across the last 400 years. From the carefully constrained, data-based approach called science. Indeed, as a result of natural science developments leading to improvements in medicine, an ever-increasing number of humans are living longer. But that means living long enough to face death, perhaps through one or another terminal illness. As part of this science process, our understanding of death has also expanded. Our concerns here focus on some of this new knowledge, some that the natural science of behavior, called behaviorology, has discovered, and its application in this area emphasizes not only improving the quality of life for the survivors of terminally ill loved ones, but also, and perhaps more importantly, improving the quality of life for the terminally ill themselves, and maintaining, even extending, everyone's dignity during these difficult times and events. We can all be more helpful to each other in these areas. We can be more helpful first by being better informed about what science can say about death and dignified dying. Let's look more closely at what this involves. Most cultures have traditionally emphasized the suffering of those left behind when someone dies, rather than the suffering of those who are dying. Throughout the historical tenure of our species, many deaths occurred violently, and most deaths occurred relatively swiftly. Few experienced the slow, protracted dying of a terminal illness. The recent change in this pattern gave rise to the movement for dignified dying, a movement that emphasizes dignified reduction of suffering, both for dying individuals as well as their survivors, whose life continues, and for whom many helpful cultural practices and resources already exist. This movement provides some scientific supports to add to the usual emotional supports for dealing with death and dying. A quick review of a particular term, however, will ease our exploration of those science supports. The term is contingencies. These refer to the connections, the dependencies between measurable, mostly environmental independent variables, casually considered causes, and measurable behavior-dependent variables, casually considered effects. The occurrence of behavior is contingent. That is, it is dependent on the occurrence of the relevant causal variables. Reciprocally, behavior itself produces many of these causal variables, and a wide range of such experimentally discovered contingencies accounts for the wide range of human behaviors, both covert behaviors like thinking, and emotions, and overt behaviors like walking and talking. Let's begin our science input by recognizing three basically different kinds of death: body death, person death, and social death. All three kinds can occur simultaneously. They can also occur more slowly at different times across the extended span of a terminal illness. When the three types occur slowly, social death and person death usually begin together, with social death finishing first, followed by person death, and then by body death. For convenience, however, we will consider the opposite order, moving from the conceptually simple body death through person death to the conceptually more complicated social death. Body death refers to the irreversible end of all body-sustaining physiological activity. When this activity is occurring, it evokes the response alive or living. The irrevocable absence of such activity evokes the description dead. With person death, however, we start by recognizing that the full repertoire of behavior that a body becomes able to mediate across the lifespan, that full repertoire is called the person. Person death then refers to the loss, which can occur gradually, of the physiological functions that mediate any and all of this behavior. This includes the overt neuromuscular behaviors like talking and the covert neural-only behaviors like thinking, which includes the complex neural behaviors of consciousness. Much person death precedes body death by a substantial time period. Upon complete person death, neither internal nor external stimuli can ever again evoke the behaviors they previously evoked, the behaviors that constituted the person. The person is completely gone forever. This is what saying someone is dead often means. Meanwhile, other physiological functions may continue at a level that leaves the body alive, a period of physiological functioning and basic reflex reactions that may occur due to medical life supports. Person death occurs when the person stops happening because the body parts that mediate the person, that is, that mediate the behavior repertoire, degrade to the point where these body parts are permanently unable to mediate the person again. An age-old confounding of the body and the person, a confounding because these two have always occurred together, complicates understanding these matters, but that is a topic for another day. Person and body death can coincide. This happens, for instance, under extreme trauma, such as upon contacting the ground after falling from a height, or after suffering an irreversible heart function failure. However, person death from the degradation of the body parts that mediate the person can occur slowly, gradually, before body death occurs, particularly during protracted dying from terminal illness. In some cases, some call this senility, even without a terminal illness, and other conditions can cause similar outcomes, such as Alzheimer's. During such gradual person death, changes also occur in some of the social relations, the social contingencies between the dying person and the survivors. These changes accumulate into that third kind of death called social death. Reflecting these changes, social death refers to deterioration in the previously successful interpersonal interactions. Social death is the gradual failure of interpersonal relations between the terminally ill person and her or his loved ones and friends and associates. the effects that each usually has on the behavior of the other gradually fail to operate in the customary fashion. The degradation of body and person brings about this reciprocal degradation in the way the dying person and the survivors affect each other. All parties find this degradation confusing and distressful. Understanding how social death happens may reduce for everyone the confusion and distress from this experience. Consider that every person participates in interconnected webs of mutually controlling and generally reinforcing contingencies with many other persons. These social contingencies comprise the bulk of interpersonal relations. For example, at some times, your behavior produces reinforcers from others, while at other times, your behavior provides the reinforcers for another's behavior. Interpersonal relations not only involve a wide range of such social contingencies, but also require that the involved parties all have a healthy enough physiology to mediate the related behaviors. When someone becomes terminally ill, however, the resulting progressive physiological deterioration reduces their body's capacity to mediate those normal social relations. The physiology of the dying person increasingly becomes incapable of mediating behaviors either that produce reinforcers from their loved ones and friends and associates, or that provide reinforcers to their loved ones or friends or associates. Together, those diminishing capacities progressively eat away at previously well-established social contingency relations. And that is a two-way street. Business and professional associates, friends, and loved ones become increasingly disconcerted. They find that their activities no longer produce reinforcers from their dying loved ones. And they find that their activities also no longer provide reinforcers to their dying loved ones. They think of their loved ones as becoming ever less responsive, which they also observe tends to reduce their own responsiveness toward their loved one. And they find both observations disturbingly aversive. Sometimes the coercive quality of those changed contingencies produces the withdrawal of some survivors from further social contact with the dying individual. They quite understandably react to these changes by staying away. This can later lead to painful regrets for those who withdraw, regrets that better understanding of these events could have avoided. The social death process increases the strains on both the dying and survivors. And while nothing can completely eliminate the stress and strain of a friend or loved one's or your own protracted dying, certain steps can reduce some unnecessary components of this stress and strain. Our scientific analysis provides new practices related not only to person, social, and body death, but also to easing the bereavement of survivors. Some new practices can even manage the social death experience in ways that reduce its negative impact. Still, cultural practices concerning death and dying developed for practical reasons and usually benefited survivors, for example, wakes. But they often originated in traditional folklore, much of which comes from a range of long-standing pre-scientific superstitions. Since these practices arose when few efforts could stop pre-death suffering, these traditional practices also typically accept the horrors that nature visits upon the dying, including the terminally ill and their survivors. These superstitious practices sometimes even push participants, both dying and survivors, to endure every measure of pain and suffering that death, including protracted dying, has to offer, even to the extent of making a putative virtue of such endurance. In the past, when no alternatives were possible, such virtue conditioning may have helped. But ethical, scientific alternatives are now possible. We need to begin replacing the previous practices with newer, more humane, science-grounded practices that afford some relief from death's horrors. Some modern practices already move in this direction. For example, hospice care, physician-assisted suicide, and the sensitive counseling that professionals provide, especially when science informs them. Other practices to reduce the aversiveness of these burdens on both the dying and survivors also emerge from a scientific behaviorological analysis. A good place to start, as we have started here, involves increasing our comprehension of the natural processes that are operating during life, social death, person death, and body death. Increasing comprehension can also show us the previously unrecognized scientific rationale for practices like the general intuitive practice of saying goodbyes before the factors leading to social death deprive the dying person of the capacity for such interactions. In 2012, behaviorologist Lawrence Fraley introduced a new cultural practice directed precisely at enhancing, formalizing, and culturally institutionalizing this general early goodbyes practice. He calls it the Foreniscon, which is short for formal ending of intimate social contacts. My suspicion is that other names will evolve. Following the pattern of ceremonial recognition of life's major events, for example, birth, marriage, the Foreniscon revolves around reducing the pressures of social death by formally arranging it in steps for both the dying and their survivors. The Foreniscon involves arranging one or more ceremonial occasions, somewhat like wakes that you attend, at which you say your goodbyes to various and increasingly intimate groups while you still can say goodbye. Terminally ill participants usually opt to avoid seeing those in each group again. But an endeavor like a series of Foreniscons takes substantial planning, an effort likely beyond the capacity of a terminally ill person. Yet a person in this position likely also needs help with several other end-of-life considerations, probably including business, legal, counseling, as well as medical and other concerns. A coordinated team approach would seem to be in order to assist in these matters with the kind of ethical and sensitive professionalism that promotes the fair and dignified conclusion of these affairs. Along with the business, legal, medical, and other experts on such a team, at a technical level, a behaviorologist team member can provide the scientific thread that ties the team's efforts together. This team member can also provide the necessary and appropriate professional therapeutic tools to help the dying person and the survivors comprehend what is happening and deal emotionally and intellectually with the different parts effectively. Furthermore, the behaviorologist applies her or his knowledge and skills to help reduce the problems that any survivors face during the bereavement process, particularly after the complete body death of their intimate, which can even reduce the length and negative effect of parts of the bereavement process. In summary, a natural science thanatology, that is, the study of death, can clarify the issues in support of dignified dying, and thereby help us meet our commitments to each other to provide for it. As a start to carrying these concerns toward practical and effective levels, we attended to several areas of considerations. We considered 3 basically different kinds of death concerning the body, the person, and social relations. We considered the extra strain on both the dying and the survivors that stem from the currently poorly recognized and widely misunderstood gradual degradation in the social contingencies that accompany the gradual degradation of both the dying person and the dying body. And we considered some improvements that the natural science of behavior can provide to reduce the aversiveness of these burdens for both the dying and the survivors, including a science-grounded, coordinated help team approach and a new practice, the Foreniscon. May these and further considerations ease the burden of end-of-life events that we all experience and help us help each other through them. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. We have to extinguish the flame. Sometimes it feels like we're going to need a bigger chalice. But please stand in body or spirit to sing our closing hymn, 354, We Laugh, We Cry. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please join hands if you'd like for our closing song, The Way.